What's up, people? We are back. We are here with that post game pod that we promised you. I'm sure that you guys got that notification, that ticker, or whatnot. So, again, with that being said, look, everybody, we're here. I'm excited. I'm happy. College football is back. I can't tell you guys how happy I am. All of our ops, they are. We'll talk about that in a little while. Let's just focus on Team 131 right now. Chris Mason, Jason, how are you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing good.
Doing
Hey,
good, doing good.
hey,
Just got
look,
back from the stadium.
exactly. So, hey, Jason was at the game. Obviously, just like you guys, we watched it as well. But before we start, hey, look, Horns Down Podcast, Hall of Fame College Football Podcast with Jason and the Coach, and Mr. Sooners 360 himself. You see him down there, Sooners 360. We are Sooners Intel, so definitely like, subscribe, do all those different things. You're going to get all this amazing content from us. It doesn't cost that much or anything, honestly, to just click that button, right? Or that notification bell. So, with that being said, Jason, how did you feel overall? Just kind of what are your first initial raw thoughts? We'll get yours, and then we'll go to Mr. Mason after that.
Uh, I mean, I thought they were pretty good. You know what I mean? I thought that, obviously, Material, I think he missed what, 7 passes or something like that total. Had like 28 completions, 27 completions, something like that. But, you know, they sputtered here and there and stuff like that. It was super vanilla. I wouldn't, I don't put a whole lot into it. They went super vanilla. I know a lot of people in the chatter probably freaking out a little bit about not putting up 60 on them like we kind of expected that they would have. But you know, I think you also have to remember that this is a FCS playoff team, which is not the same as playing your normal FCS opponent. There's another FCS playoff team that's beating K State right now. Is about to beat K State, and Michigan is only winning by 10 against New Mexico, who would get its ass whipped by this FCS uh, playoff team as well. So, listen, I mean, it's just, I think that they looked pretty good. I think they looked pretty good. You know what I mean? I think that the defense looked like it should. It beat the brakes off of them. But the offense, looked good at times. They were making a distinct uh, effort at running the football, run the ball. You know what I mean? So but it was super vanilla. I think you got pretty much what you expected to.
Chris Mason.
I had two goals for this game. Very, very basic goals. One, could we scheme anyone open? And two, with said wide receiver schemed open or tight end schemed open, could our quarterback get them the football? And check one, check two. Are there other stuff that needs work? Yeah, most definitely. But all in all, I thought the wide receiver core looked good. I thought the tight end group acquitted themselves pretty well. Illinois State obviously was going to great lengths to shorten the game. So when you gave them two possessions, basically three possessions with penalties and turnovers, when you gave them three possessions, Illinois did everything to run clock. They're usually a no huddle team, and they ran clock all game. They ran the ball a little bit more than I thought they really would. They got some first downs, and every first down meant like 3 minutes off the clock, basically. So Unk's goal is, would be my third goal to stay healthy. So I think based upon everything that got laid out and the conservative scheme Illinois State really came with, I felt like, John Mateer went 30 of 37. He went for 392. I think for a debut game, you couldn't really ask for much more from him.
So I'll jump in here if you guys don't mind. I'll bring your attention to a couple things. So, I want to say around maybe a day after or so, what of that spring combine that we had, those 7-on-7s in particular. I know I sent you guys some video and things that I saw, and that's what made me feel really confident about it, guys. This is no lie. and hopefully these two can back me up on this, but most of what you saw tonight is most of what they did in that spring combine, those 707s. A lot of different plays, a lot of different things, getting Burks involved. There was a lot of different wrinkles or whatnot that they had that they were just working on. There were certain things that they literally were working, right? We can get into specifics here in a little bit, but I would say that most of what you've seen tonight was really, really vanilla. So that's what's kind of encouraging. I know we'll talk about the offensive line and some other things, but I think for the most part, this team played pretty well. Second off, out of all the predictions that we had on here, this is not necessarily a hey, Chris, pat yourself on the back. This is
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Don't
so
start.
I just say it wasn't like I told Jason, it wasn't necessarily because I didn't think we were gonna be explosive or anything like this. I knew we were gonna score. At first I thought it was gonna rain. It's been raining here in Norman all week. And the sun finally popped out later on in the game, which I was like, oh yes, God, please let that be your promise that you won't let it rain during this Michigan game. We just want to get to some ball, right? But regardless, when you go and look at the film, if you do your homework, if you're into that type of thing or whatnot, not saying that I'm sitting here replaying, stopping, replay, stop, replay, stop, replay, stop, go, stop and go type of guy watching every single ounce of film there is on Illinois State. But if you go and watch some of their older games last year, go watch the Iowa game. The Iowa game that they played, even though it was 40-0 or whatever the final score was, how this game started for with us is the same how it started with Iowa. Then you go and look at them against North Dakota State and different teams like that in the FCS, and you see good play, bad play, all the rest of this. But one thing was consistent was their effort and then some of the different things that they do defensively, which to me was a plus because those are things you're going to see from better competition, better teams throughout the season. So, again, with that being said, there's no consolations, none of that. We're not taking any of that. But if you really are looking at the X's and O's and what's happening defensively, they present some things to you that you're going to see later on in the season. So it's a good matchup. It's a good test to see, our guys against different competition other than just inter squad, scrimmages, right? So to me, it was just good. So again, the 35-3 or whatnot, defense looked really good, and I think that we can let's get into it. Kind of the pros and cons of this game, or the good and the bad, right? So let's start with the bad. I'll jump out here and say one. Okay, first off, I was fine with the offensive line. I wasn't necessarily like, oh my God, it was amazing. I think most of what was going on was that you wanted to keep it really vanilla with some of the things you're trying to do in the run game. But I think you were unable to do that because they made adjustments on the fly because we were exposed by Bourne's lack of vision. Because when you run that zone scheme or whatnot, some of the cuts, some of the different things that you need to make things happen, he just doesn't have it. So on some of those slow developing plays or whatnot, I mean, we're running stretch plays and we're just like, hey, just run the ball. You don't have to do the whole Kennedy Brooks thing where you're trying to wait and see. That was always my biggest problem with Bournes and Sawchuk is that you don't have to be Kennedy Brooks. I know that you're being trained up that way or whatever by DeMarco, but like you don't have to be them. Just be yourself. But that's still a problem for Bournes out there. Outside of that, we could talk about everything else, but I just wanted to open up with that. I'll pass it off to the panel.
Yeah, I didn't think it was as bad as everybody's acting like it was with the O-line either. And again, I'll kind of, say again, it wasn't a terrible football team that they played against. I think that this is a team that fought and continued to fight for the entire game. And that's usually not what you see with some of these teams. You know what I mean? With these FCS type guys, they were fighting the whole way. They were trying to kind of get things going and just kept on, they're competitive team. It's just a competitive team. In the end, Oklahoma had too much. They were too strong for them. And I mean, look, we're acting like they won 35-28. You know what I mean? A lot of people were acting like this is a 35-28 game. It was 35-3. And you had a couple of little mishaps that kept it from being more than that. You know what I mean? If you don't have that fumble from Kaepernick early on.
Yeah.
And,
they're driving for a touchdown there.
Yeah, no doubt. So, and then in the first possession, they went 3 and out. So, you know what I mean? It's kind of is what it is. But I think they're fine. I think you're just trying to get in there and get your work done and everything else. I think that we were I'm a little bit surprised at what was the game plan. I expected you'd probably see Hawkins a little bit. You didn't, but it is what it is. And that's okay. I mean, for what Uncle was talking about, you don't want to see. Yeah, I mean, of course they were stacking it. They were stacking it, Hankster. But and I think that's probably a good thing. And they were also, you probably would have gotten a lot more sacks too, but they were definitely on, they were in that max protect, which you're going to see a lot of that against some of these guys, and they have to be in. But I think if you want to look for a negative, you can say the offensive line wasn't perfect all day, and I would definitely say, yeah, Javonte Barnes. I'm not in love with him as a guy that plays a lot. I haven't been. That's something I've been saying for a while. I'd much rather see guys like Blaylock play. Certainly X-Rob. I don't know what the deal is with Jaden Ott, why he didn't play. But as far as I don't know. It just, to me, I thought that I thought it was in hand at all times. So wasn't really concerning. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I'm just going to rattle off positives, I mean, did we play 30 guys on defense tonight? Seemed that way. I thought Guillory had a good debut. It was nice to see Gentry Williams back, looking like the guy we knew before all these shoulder problems started. The Taylor Wine obviously had a nice day. The Rittenhouse quarterback is hard to sack. I mean, they would have. I mean, that guy is that guy's he's mobile, he's shifty, whatever you want to call him, whatever adjectives you want to use. And I felt like Illinois State, was running clock as much as they could. But I liked what I saw from the defense, especially the secondary. I liked what I saw from Peyton Bowen. Reggie Powers had a nice hit. Bogo. I don't remember his name being mentioned too much, which is probably pretty good for a safety in terms of the coverage we were able to do. They have some decent wide receivers, and their passing game was non-existent. They ran the ball a little bit more. I think there's some run fit stuff, but based upon we were swapping so much personnel out on offense, again, I liked what I saw in terms of guys being open, Mateer finding guys, the playmaking Mateer showed just at a certain level. I thought the pass pro from the offensive line was maybe the strongest point for them. They weren't moving guys around as much as they needed to, but the running game seemed like it was about to get going, and then Blaylock got hurt. And then it kind of got reset a little bit. And if you notice, Sexton was out for a period, and Foji was playing left guard. Or did they flip? I saw Foji and Nwewu in for an extended period of time.
It was a lot of shuffling, and I'm just going to jump in here just for a second, Chris Mason. But it was a lot of shuffling, and obviously, kind of, I think you guys know how I feel about the presentation that is, ESPN Plus. It was hard to keep up with who the hell was actually out there.
Exactly.
The camera angles and the shots and everything. So, I mean, Jason, you were there, but it was bad.
It was bad.
It was hard to try to keep up with who was out there on the line.
Yeah, but Foji, I mean, he played right guard all camp. So he started his first game as a true freshman at left guard. At times he looked bad. Sometimes he looked better. He's going to look that way. That's going to be a freshman playing his first game against a veteran defense.
Freshman, yeah.
And he's playing left guard. He didn't play that all camp.
Mm-hmm.
So they moved him in there because I think they swapped him out for Eddie Pierre-Louis. And then obviously I think Howland maybe had the best game on the O-line, and that's a limited perspective based upon what I was watching and what I could see, it seemed like he was doing pretty well in both pass protection. And I think the right side, the running game on the right side was a little stronger behind Nwewu and Howland overall. When you had Blaylock who could quickly bounce things outside. So overall, I mean, I think, you played a bunch of guys on defense. I mean, Heineke, you saw some flashes of what Kendall Daniels can do for you on third down as the cheetah, had made a couple of big plays. I think overall, Barnes is what Barnes is, and that's basically what it is. And we need to get Taylor Tatum healthy. They need to figure out whatever they're doing with Ott and move from there. If we want to go real negative, I wasn't real impressed with Ekstrom today. He looked a little slow, but it could be that maybe just we were calling really vanilla stuff when he was in there, and they were just slamming everything. They were just bunching up inside from that standpoint.
And that's how I felt. I felt like some of the different things that you saw on the back end, especially in that zone scheme early with the Barnes, it closed up early simply because they made adjustments. I mean, it's what any good team does. They made adjustments and they were prepared for it. We didn't necessarily change anything in that. Just kind of going off of what we saw from Mateer and our wide receivers, man. Hey, look, we have the speed. We have real speed. Satania, Burks, those are guys that are giving us what we all were hoping that we could eventually get from a guy like a Brennan Thompson when we had him last year, right? These are guys that are fast. These are guys that, not necessarily the tallest guys, but these guys get it done, right? I felt like for the most part we were operating really good. Quick game, little stick routes, little different curls, different things like that were really good. I thought that for the most part he was really solid back there. I think there was a couple turnovers there. There was one where he clearly threw behind. Thought that could have got to. Thought he gave himself a real chance to get that to. What am I trying to think? It gave him a real chance to get it to Burks, but that was a pick. But then outside of the fumble with what's his name, Kanik, I thought Kanik had a really good day as well. I think Kanik could be a problem, especially in the seam routes and everything. He catches the ball clean. He runs with it pretty clean. It's just the fact of having to let him know, hey, you don't have to take on 3 tacklers when they get to you. You could actually
get
just
down.
fall down.
Get down.
Yeah. So
sorry to interrupt. I thought Illinois State was much better than Temple last year in terms of just quality of football, vastly superior to Maine or anybody else or Maine. I thought they were very well coached, had a very fundamentally sound game plan. Someone posted it in here. It was they only had 2 penalties all night, 0 turnovers, and they were not giving us anything. And their punter was skying the ball. I do think Satania is a threat to bring something back at some point. That looked like a positive to me in the punt return game. But yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I just think Illinois State is a pretty good coach team, and and we made some mistakes tonight. A couple of series got knocked.
What I think though too, I also think there were some high level passes that you had guys in the back pocket. I mean, you're talking about back shoulder throws, high level grabs. They're running good routes. I mean, if you're paying attention to the things that matter.
Yep.
Which is, if you're doing things the right way, and they were, you're running the routes correctly, hitting the back shoulder, at the right times, off platform stuff. He didn't get crazy and make a bunch of throws where you're like, yeah, you're not going to get away with that. You know what I mean? You saw him kind of tuck the ball a little bit here and there. I don't know.
He threw some guys open as well. If you go back and
hitting guys in stride.
Yeah, he had some guys in stride, but he threw a couple of guys open as well. I think on some of those plays, One of the touchdowns to Keontae Lewis, one of the touchdowns to Burks. It felt like
Lewis looked great.
What'd you say, Jason?
Keontae looked fantastic too.
Yeah. Mateer went 30 of 37. You know, he should have run the ball a couple of times, you know, instead of throwing maybe on that fourth down, instead of trying to get that big play to Kanak, that it was there for him to just run the ball. And we probably put that in the end zone to make it 42-3. Does that make anybody else happier? I don't know. Does it really matter? It matters only if you had 35 and a half in your betting site. But you know, I agree. Mateer looked, you know, Lewis looked good, Satania looked good, and Burks looked good. And obviously we're hoping we can get Giovanni Gibson back, who apparently there was a tweet of him throwing a football before the game started, and he looks really I can't imagine he's too far away. With the way he's moving, he's moving around, I can't imagine we are too far away from adding Giovanni Gibson to the mix.
And speaking of that, I think next week we get to see solid rotations. I think we get to see maybe less rotations or whatnot, but I think we get to see some key guys back. It'd be nice to have Dobie out there as well. I mean, guys, you got to remember some of the things that you guys are saying or whatnot. We didn't have a lot of those guys there. I thought Kendall Daniels had a fantastic game. I thought that for me, it was just, what does he look like out there, right? And to me, I think that, you know, he is the prototype for what that position is supposed to look like. But that is not to take anything away from a Kendall Dobie, who changes our defense completely when he's out there, because he gives us a chance to, again, be able to have a guy that's not afraid to hit you, but a guy that can cover as well. So even if he's flexing out there to a corner to play bigger corner, it's still more experience and everything. Speaking of corners, Jason, how did you feel about our DBs tonight? I thought Cortland Guillory played a pretty damn good game.
He played great. It was great to see Gentry out there knocking balls away too. He was draped. You know, any one-on-one stuff, you weren't getting around him. Thought he looked fantastic. But yeah, Cortland, that dude just plays with fire, like complete fire immediately. You know, from the first snap. I even thought that PI that they got on him, I think that was pretty good. I thought it was kind of a weak.
Yeah, it was
you know what I mean? He that's the textbook way that you do it. You reach around and try to knock it down. I thought it was kind of a weak deal, but no, man, I thought he was great. I thought that I'm excited about the way the secondary played overall. You know, brought up a minute ago, those guys. Well, Peyton looked really good. Peyton looked really, really, really good, and you expect that from him. But, you know, even when you start seeing Reggie Powers was anticipating and popping, and, you know, it was fun to see, man. It really was. And Kip Lewis, by the way, the linebackers looked really good too. I thought Kip was all over the place, just like you would have expected.
There is depth there in the secondary for sure. Two things that really stood out to me was that, man, how good is it to have a healthy Gentry and a healthy, Peyton Bowen. You could do so many different things with those guys, because those guys can blitz, and those guys are really smart as far as what's going on. You can put those guys in different situations, scenarios, and they can get there. But like with just having Gentry healthy and having him, not only kind of being the cover guy, I think you can leave him on the island by himself if you need to. He's also a guy that, again, he picks up on those screens, different things like that. He's aggressive when he sees things like that. He was out there at the backfield, saw him wrap somebody up in the backfield tonight as well. And I was just like, oh, that's good. It seems like that shoulder is healed up for the most part. Definitely will say, I thought linebackers side, everybody played pretty well. I want to say that I know I saw a couple of comments about Marvin Jones Jr. about him. Hey, he's got to make sure he sets the edge a little bit better. I think those were a couple of things that stood out to me on that D line, with at least just kind of him poking out like that.
David Stone seemed to be making quite a bit of interior pass rush.
He did.
They were getting the ball out fast. So I mean,
Max protect still. Yeah.
Yeah, the only way you were really getting to them was with some interior pressure. Even with that, we still got quite a bit of pressure at times on them. And again, they I mean, it was one step drop pass. I mean, it was their passing game was pretty rudimentary, especially after their quarterback got knocked out after Taylor Wine. He didn't. It was almost a dirty play or anything. He just tackled him to the ground, and the guy kind of banged his elbow, banged his shoulder a little bit.
I think he was able to come back in. They just weren't gonna. They weren't.
No, they didn't play him again. He sat.
No, I mean, but he was. I saw him on the sideline giving a thumbs up like he could go.
They just held him. I mean,
weren't risking it.
Yeah, that was a smart move, right? You know, better battles, better. I mean, that coach was very. I think he did the. I think he made smart choices to try and to keep the game, to keep the game in hand and to, not do no huddle and not give OU more possessions. And, they really only get 3 points because of the Mateer Burks misconnect pick. I don't think they would have scored other than that. Maybe they would have gotten one more drive and gotten like a long field goal attempt, but they certainly weren't getting in the red zone. I mean, unless OU, other than the Mateer pick, I mean, it should have been 35-0, really. I mean,
yeah.
A couple of our drives got stalled on penalties, and otherwise we probably put those away. The holding penalty and the 2 illegal procedures hurt us. The holding call on Canick really hurt because Blaylock got a run going. We seem to be starting to get the ball moving. And then of course Blaylock got hurt right after that and we had to punt. So
because I mean it's not even a vision thing, it's just being able to hit the hole. Just hit the hole with what you're trying to do. When you're being very vanilla and stuff, I don't think it's one of those things where you're trying to kind of wait and see and do the hey, I'm gonna be, patient, hide behind this block, and then boom, I'm going. Like, no, you have to be able to hit that hole, especially when you're being vanilla. Because here's the thing, people. I think also, and again, this is not me. Hopefully, you guys understand. All 3 of us will be very critical. If you trust me, you can go back last year and you can hear all 3 of us express our frustrations with the game plan, everything overall. But what I would
heard you say that I'm not. There's no excuses for Brent Venables right now.
No, there's no excuses. Yeah, there's no excuses. So I would say, hey, look, I agree with everybody in the chat that is saying the run game has to be better. This and that doesn't matter if you're SCS, it's Michigan, Texas, whoever the hell is a run game has to be better. I agree with you on that. One of the things that I'm still a little bit hesitant to pull the trigger on all of that is simply because we didn't run a lot of the core stuff that Arbuckle wants to run. Again, I challenge a lot of you guys to really go and look at that film to kind of go see. It's not just the thing where we're supposed to show up and always be dominant. A lot of teams, your Penn States, everybody saw what the debacle was today at the first game of the day, if you know what I'm saying. But a lot of teams really kind of struggled out the gates. Tennessee looked pretty good, kind of out the gates. I think Florida State, they look pretty good, but it wasn't necessarily a great picture overall for everybody. It took some time to kind of get things to gel. It's our first year with this new scheme, this quarterback, this offensive coordinator, and you didn't get to see some of those GT counters, pulls, those different things that he likes to do in the run game. So it's a bunch of stuff that you're trying to figure out. And on top of that, you're trying to give guys a chance to kind of separate from other guys on the actual depth chart, right? Not just the oars, but actually kind of separate simply because there's a game plan that's going on. There's a scheme that's going on. And then I think that, again, Arbuckle is doing something that we haven't seen necessarily in a while, which is he's actually getting along and actually communicating with a Beatonbow and DeMarco and Emmett Jones as far as, hey, what guys do we need to have for these different packages and all the rest of that. So I think that he was giving himself a chance to work with what he had simply because, again, we limited ourselves simply because Dolby, Giovanni Gibson, who I think is healthy and I think will play next week. That's just my thought. guys like that, there are some key pieces out there that like guys that they didn't play, right? So us at full health and our offensive line figured out, we have a chance to be a problem. And the thing is that I do expect this team to potentially average 40 plus points per game potentially. But at the same time, again, if I think we're all under the impression because we said it this past summer, this past spring going into the summer, is that hell if we can have an offense that's averaging 23 to 28 points per game, I feel pretty good about our chances every game because I think our defense is going to be that good to give us chances to, be able to win these games.
Yeah, don't give up possessions. Don't do some ball security.
At no point were they in trouble, though. At no point.
No. I'm saying for the future. Like what I'm just saying that you have to make sure you don't put the defense in bad positions. But you're right. In this game, they had control of this game. From the moment they hit Kanak, he hit Kanak with that seam route that he went for 49 yards, not 50. So we did not have a 50-yard play like we predicted. It was over, right? And then he hit Burks right after that for a quick touchdown. I think I had that sequence right. It was Kanak and then Burks, bang bang for the first touchdown. I think after that was on the board, it was like, okay, we can pass on these guys if we don't stubbornly run the ball. We can pass on these guys and make it work.
Hey, one thing I would also say, kind of in pass pro and different things that that we did kind of in the pass protection or whatnot, I was actually kind of pleased simply because coming into this game, if you watched us our preview shows that we do that we're going to continue to do on Thursday nights around 8 p.m. CST time. Just a quick plug for you guys. We said, hey, on third and long, whatever they consider to be third and long, hell, even second downs or whatnot, they send the house. They're not going to sit back and run zone or try to run anything that's cute or anything like that. They're sending the effing house. So I thought we picked up a lot of that stuff pretty well. And again, there are things in there in the tea leaves that if you're actually reading those where you felt pretty good. But again, there are some things that this is going to be a work in progress. They got to get better. They have to get better. Just like Michigan is going to have to get better for this game next week because hey, you can sit there and look at Michigan as well. They gave up 17 something points to New Mexico, who basically borderline FCS teams. So here's the thing: is that I'm not trying to.
They were as good as an FCS team at New Mexico, bro.
Yeah,
come on.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm just saying that there's a lot of work that needs to happen. Guys, I'll start with you, Chris Mason. Kind of give me your, we gave our MVPs of the game. Did yours change any?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would obviously, I think you have to go ahead and just say, Mateer was the offensive MVP. He was the MVP of the game. I think Keontae Lewis is maybe 1B, however you want to do it. I think David Stone was pretty good at defensive end, was pretty good on defense, but I would say I probably would give it to, I think I probably would give it either to Gentry or maybe Colin Guillory because the cornerbacks just allowed the rest of the defense to they locked down their wide receivers and they got a pretty good one. One of their guys is pretty good. Some NFL guys think he's sort of a draftable 4th, 5th round type guy. We just shut down their passing game completely. So I'd probably give it to Guillory and Gentry as well. Obviously, but I think, if you're freaked out about the offensive line, okay, this was pretty much a textbook game, the same game we played in 2015 in the opener with Baker and Lincoln Riley. Couldn't run the ball, got about the same amount of points. Baker had a good day. Mateer beat it. I mean, if they're almost mirror textbook copies of each other, except our defense played much better than the defense in 2015. So, can OU get better? Yes, but I feel better about our quarterback situation than the QB situations, I think, in Austin, Tuscaloosa, and elsewhere.
Yeah. And I think that's something that we've said over the span of this these whole conversations leading up to this game is that a lot of teams going to have to figure things out. Hey, Aguilar looked pretty good for Tennessee today, but outside of that, who else looked good? I mean, I was looking at Ole Miss, and when you go to Austin Simmons' stats, you look at 2 interceptions, right? So I mean, it's one of those things where there's a bunch of teams that are starting brand new quarterbacks, and it's gonna be a little bit of work in progress. But some of these games, some of these early tests that you kind of get to see what you have. Jason,
what are you asking? I'm sorry.
I was just asking, like, did your MVP or anything like that in the game change?
No, well, yeah. I mean, I think Cortland Guillory, you could probably definitely give it to him on the defensive side if you want to. I mean, John Mateers, I mean, yeah, you go out there and you hit 28 passes or whatever, you got 4 total touchdowns, it probably is him. I would also say, though, I mean, listen, for all the people that think Jaren Kanak just sucks and there's no way he should be good and, blah, 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 we're going to, we're scared shitless about Joe John still being in charge of that room and whatever, which, is debatable, by the way. Because I would think that Kevin Wilson has a lot of say over what's going on in there. This guy is really a problem for people. I think he's going to be a problem for people. His speed, his hands, he's got a knack for playing on offense, and I think it's going to get better. I think you could probably, if he hadn't fumbled it for sure, then you would probably be talking a little bit more about him. Loved what I saw from Isaiah Sategna, though, and Keontae Lewis for sure. So, yeah, I would probably go with Mateer. Defensively, probably go with Guillory or, I like Taylor Wine a lot too, man. He looked really good.
Yeah, well. That's a good pick too.
Yeah.
For you guys, also, again, I keep saying that, hey, we limited ourselves. We held some guys out that could have played. They suited up. They didn't play. But with the O-line as well, people, I would say this right here. We shuffled some guys in there. And the thing is that you still got to see what we look like with Derek Simmons and Fasusi in the fold, right? Sexton as well, like a full dose of that. So I think you still have to see what you look like. I think they opened up. They did things. Again, pass protection I thought was fine. I think run blocking, obviously, that was less than desired. But at the same time, I just want to see this team at full health, right? It's been a while since we've seen this team at full health. So when we get some of these guys back, I think it's going to be really interesting because I think that with what we saw tonight kind of offensively, especially with our wide receivers, I think that when you are able to get maybe a Giovanni Gibson back and get Kearney didn't play at all. I didn't see him out there as well. So I think once you get a full dose of like these guys,
hasn't he been banged up pretty much for most of fall camp?
Yeah. I mean,
it almost seemed like if you were hurt at some point in fall camp, you didn't play today.
Yeah.
I mean, you just didn't play.
So overall, guys, what was your score? What was your grade? Excuse me. What was your grade for tonight? I think I'm kind of with the chat. Well, chat may say a little bit worse, but I think I would say probably like a C plus. Just because, C minus, C plus, just because you left some things out there on the field. There's some work, but there's some good film to fix things. I think there's more things that are correctable than not.
Yeah,
sure. I mean, sure. I think defensively, you gave up 3 points because the offense coughed the ball up threw a pick at the 20-yard line. I would say the defense probably is a B. A solid B, and I would say the offense, as you said, left some stuff out there, C plus, C, something like that.
Yeah, I think C plus, B minus is fine. You know what I mean? I think I didn't expect them to be an A plus today. Just so we understand it, they don't have to be perfect in game one. You hope that they're getting better from week to week, and I think that people forget that as good as Bill Bedenbaugh is, that offensive line generally isn't its greatest in the first 2 or 3, 4 games of the year. It gets better as it goes along. I think that's part of it, right? But I do say that, you know, it could have been worse. You could be Texas today that, you know, did not look good on offense whatsoever. You know,
we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that.
oh, we're gonna get to that. You could be Alabama that just got, you know, mudholed in freaking Florida State too. So
we're gonna get to that. Hey, one last comment before we move to just a couple other topics or whatnot. I will say this right here. Again, if you're looking at the tea leaves, maybe this is just me kind of nerding out, geeking out, trying to actually see it for what it is. I really like Arbuckle's offense, and the thing that I like the most about it are two things. One, he can be effective with whoever the hell is out there. Saw Jacob Jordan out there catch a pass. Obviously, we saw how he was scheming up things for a guy like Kanik, right? But at the same time, you got to see just different guys coming there, and you're still effective. It's not necessarily a drop off. It's, hey, we're going to get the best out of this this formation, right? Second thing was that you can tell with the offense that, hey, we can build things out of this. And I think that's where the run game comes into it, is because if the run game is actually working, I think it's going to be hell for a bunch of teams, because you're not going to be able to just, you know, kind of lollygag around. I think you're going to have to really figure some things out and really scheme and really make sure that you understand what's happening, because those deep digs that we kept getting with Keontez Lewis, and then you kind of saw with those digs started becoming more available when we were able to kind of run the ball. And then also when you kept carving them up for those touchdowns, those touchdowns with Keontez Lewis, obviously, and a Burks. But there's different things that I saw tonight where I was like, hey, I see what he's trying to do. He can build off of that. We've shown these looks, these same formations, and he's just building off of that and giving you more of giving you just more route trees in your arsenal. I was like, I really like this offense. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out over the year. With that being said, fellas, before if we want to move back to that conversation, we can, but I think that we need to discuss what happened today at 11 a.m. Texas, Ohio State, man. Bevo's bodyguard, Ben G, where are you guys at? Where are the Longhorn fans in here? Where are you guys at? Jason?
Oh, yeah, I figured they – no, Bevo's bodyguard didn't show up? I can't believe it. You know, Benji, he's there in Columbus, so it is what it is. I'm sure he's definitely drowning his sorrows right now because he was so sure that being in the house was going to bring them luck. But I think it's hilarious. Guys, we're not making excuses. We're not making excuses for anything. If they look bad in week 4 or 5 and they don't go into the Red River undefeated, we're going to have plenty to say. We're going to have plenty to say. I don't think that you can judge everything off of one fucking football game, okay? You can't do it. You can't do it. And the same is true for Texas, except for the problem that I don't think it was so much an Arch Manning problem. I think Sark is mid. I think Sark is mid when it comes to calling games, especially against teams that have similar talent. I think he was scared to death to let Arch loose and let them go do what they wanted to do. I don't think their receiving room is great. You know, I don't think that they were getting a ton of separation against a fairly new secondary with some of those guys were brand new to it. To be honest with you, I didn't expect them to go in there and win, so I don't have a huge problem. But if you were listening to the world, you know, all these, you know, flyby, you know, content guys and, you know, media guys that were, oh, Texas is the best. That, you know, that just the expectation levels were crazy. But I think that Sark is not as great as everybody acts like he is. I think that has a lot to do with it. And the play calling was trash. What are you holding back there? If you're playing Ohio State, what are you afraid of? You're not. To me, I didn't expect them to win, but I expected them to go out there and try to throw the shit around and get it after it. he didn't. He was scared to death of turning him loose, and I don't see why. I think he lost. If there ever was a chance for Arch to win the Heisman, it's gone. It's gone. So,
I'll jump in and say this right here. I thought it was two things that stood out to me. I thought that one, I will say this right here, and I'll go ahead and let the nuts hang on this one. Texas. Yeah, here's a couple observations for you. I'll let the nuts hang on this one. Texas is lucky that they didn't let Julian Sayin loose, that they kept him in the game manager role, because what he showed me today, minus some of the drops, they could have moved the chains and got him in a rhythm really fast. But what he showed me today was he was like, hey, he can he's got another step. He's got another step that he can get to. That kid could potentially be special. He's going to be a hell of a player. But to me, I thought, hey, if you let him loose, Texas would have been in trouble. Second thing that I say that point out that stuck out to me in that Texas game was simply this right here, is that I was shocked that Sark. I was like, I don't even know what this offense is. Where is the true RPO scheme that you really want to get to? For me, was Sark.
Why is he running it more, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
trust. I am with you on that. I think that one, you're with Sark. For me, I would say this right here. He loves a bell cow. He's gonna have to figure out who he wants to run with. I think that Baxter always and will always be, for right now, the best running back that they have potential wise. But Trey Wisner just runs harder, right? So you gotta have to figure out who's gonna be your bell cow out of that. I think you need to get consistency, especially with that old line that is. I mean, they're not that good. But the thing that really bothered me about today for Texas was the simple fact of I don't know what offense that was in the first 4 or 5 series. To me, it felt like, hey, the stuff that I always call him crap for, it usually works for, right? The screens, the reverses, the different plays like that actually worked in the second half whenever they ran tempo. I think those were a couple of things that I didn't understand. Some of the dig routes, some of the longer developing stuff or whatnot, it was open, but Arch was side throwing a lot. I mean, he was throwing at the feet of his wide receivers and tight ends an awful lot. When it looked good, it looked good. It looked great. But there were times where I just didn't really understand that. But schematically, when you're looking at games like that, I tell people all the time, you have to take away all of the cute shit, the reverses, and all the rest of that stuff. There were Texas fans leading up to this game talking about Patricia has never called a college football game and everything. I'm like, he won freaking Super Bowls at the highest of the highest levels. What are we talking about? But regardless, though, he set on a lot of that stuff, and he made him call it a game straight up. If you can force Sark out of that script, right, those first 10 to 15 plays that he wants to run, and when Sark is feeling good, we know those first 10 to 15 plays that he puts on that script, he will just circle back to them and figure out how to build off of those. If you can force him away from that script, and you could sit on the cute stuff, the reverses and the little running back screens, a little cute, little trick plays that they run, if you can force him out of that and force him to call a game straight up, that's when Sark starts to falter. That's when the cracks start to come in. And so you saw that today. And that's something to me that was really disappointing, because I think that you could have put the pressure on Ohio State earlier in the game by running tempo, by running some of those different things to give them those looks. This is the first time, honestly. I think Wingo is a really good player, but him as a wide receiver, that's what I was excited to see from him today. It was like, okay, can he actually go north and south as a wide receiver, not just a guy coming off of reverses and little bum plays like that, right? Didn't necessarily see that. Andrews is probably their best receiver right now at tight end. I think the Livingstone kid caught a hell of a ball, but at the same time, it's a different world. I was not confident with DeAndre Moore coming back as pretty much your number one, but it was an interesting process. And the thing I think that Patricia did the best, that Ohio State defense did the best as well, they kept They kept Arch contained. They did not let him evade, run for 50 yards, or run down the sideline like everybody thought that he was going to be. Last thing I'll say before I pass it to Chris Mason is simply this right here. And this is big for me because y'all know how I feel about Mullet Boy. Y'all know how I feel about young Quintavious, as the Texas fans love to call him. Quinn Ewers at Ohio State right now, if he would have stayed, right? Quinn Ewers beats Ohio State today by himself by 2 touchdowns. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to put it out there.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I told you I was going to let the Nets hang. Go
It
ahead.
definitely, guys. I think it definitely.
Hey, I need to get my text. We'll leave his Quinn Ewers thing into the next thing. So
I think it definitely just killed that little narrative about Arch being, better, and he just didn't want to play him because he was trying to be loyal to Quinn. That's bullshit. If you didn't think that was bullshit before, you definitely know it's bullshit now.
So on Texas, if you're a Texas fan, the number one thing that has to disturb you is you have a very good defense, right? But this is now the 4th big-time game you've gone to. 2 games against Georgia and now 2 games against Ohio State, where your elite play-calling head coach and his offense have crapped the bed. I mean, you're supposed to – this is now 4 games in a row, big-time football games, which is – you've built a defense that can keep you in these, for the most part. And now in every one of those games, your offense has been weak. This is 2 5-star quarterbacks, number 1 quarterbacks in their class, back to back, who just can't get it done against elite defenses. And how are you going to get any better? I don't know where they get any better. I think they got problems at O-line, at wide receiver, and I think and Arch, obviously, he'll get better the more he plays, but I don't know where that ceiling is for him in terms of his development. We'll see when we beat them in Dallas, and who knows what we'll be at that point. But I feel better about our quarterback situation than if I was a Texas fan. I would feel less than. Because they got nobody behind him. It's not like they have like a relief pitcher they can go to. I mean, they got nothing behind Arch at this point right now. So can we move quickly to what the hell was that in Tallahassee?
What was that in Tallahassee?
We're redoing. We're allowed to resubmit our playoff picks when we do the bye week stuff, right? Because I gotta swap some teams out apparently. I watched the majority of that game, and after the first drive, FSU just beat the crap out of them. And Bama made some terrible mistakes. It was a really bad.
I think running quarterbacks hurt Bama right now.
Defensively, they did not. I mean, the big wheel route play that set up the 3rd touchdown. And they had the game back in hand. It was 24-17, and they gave up a long drive for a touchdown.
Yeah. Sawchuk got him a touchdown.
He did. I don't think he's going to be their feature back. I think it's going to be that Krona kid.
Cromar or whatever.
Or whatever. But, yeah, I thought – I'll be honest, guys. Everybody had been saying that was the reverse of that score was going to happen. I was stunned by that.
To me, I think that the biggest problem right now is that the biggest problem I have with DeBoer, and really the only problem I have with him, is that I don't think that his teams are disciplined enough to beat a team like Florida State. And there's one reason why, and that's because Florida State, the reason why they won that game today is that, hey, Gus Malzahn, hats off to you. You called a hell of a game. But OU fans, we saw him come in with a really inferior team, and we played down to their level 2023. A lot of different things guys were there in the spots. You just don't make the plays. Some of those little sprint run plays that he likes, it's going to be east-west. You know that there's going to be an element of the game where literally they're doing, jet sweeps, different things like that, just getting guys the ball in their hands. You know it's going to be east-west. You know eventually they will take their shots down the field. You know it's going to be a lot of gadgety type plays. You have to be disciplined for that. My uncle, we were talking today, and he made a comment to me that I thought was that carries on. I'll pass it to you after this, Jason. But he said, the problem with Alabama for him at least was the fact that Bama doesn't have the talent that they had back in the day to sit there with somebody like Ty Simpson at quarterback to win a game, right? Ty Simpson is a game manager. Let's just call him what he is.
Wouldn't be surprised if you end up seeing Keelan Russell pretty quick.
Yeah, him, Austin Mack, one of the others. Bama is not good enough right now. They have all the talent in the world, but it's not the same type of talent that they've had in the past under Nick Saban to sit there with a we can go back to plenty of those quarterbacks. I can't remember some of those quarterbacks' names right now. Chris Mason helped me out. Not obviously not Tua, not Mac Jones, but
Chris, was it Sims?
Chris Sims.
That's not right. That's not right. Phil Sims. No, that's not right either.
It's something like that. And the
guy I'm close.
Blake Sims.
There we go. Blake Sims.
Guys like that. You don't have the luxury of sitting
McElroy and
exactly. You don't have the luxury of sitting there with those type of generational talents on the defensive side of the ball, guys who've made countless Pro Bowls and stuff. You don't have that type of talent to sit there. You're good enough to still go out there and make a playoff run, in my opinion. But, again, and people, this is what we're trying to say. I know that they're playing Florida State. We're playing Illinois State, but it's a lot. It's a lot of work that a lot of teams are going to have to do because there are definitely holes on a lot of teams.
Sure. And I think it's more wide open than we even thought it was coming into the season. Mm-hmm. I think that was what you should glean from week one. If that's what I think anyway. I mean, Clemson getting beat 17-10 still. They're down by the goal line. They're about to lose though if they don't get a touchdown here.
Yeah, they're about to send it. They could put it in overtime.
Go figure that LSU has a chance to win in week one. Be the first time in 6 years. Oh, anyway, no, I think Alabama. They got some problems. I think that anytime that you're replacing the GOAT, you're going to have some issues. I think that it's still you have to. The thing is that. I think if you're smart as a Bama fan, that you know that it's going to take some time to institute their culture of what they like to do there. They're recruiting well, but I think a lot of people have said it, and Benji, he's one of the ones that's been saying that Alabama was going to lose to Florida State the most. And there's a couple of other guys in here too, so I'm not saying that nobody said it. But I would just tell you that I think that they have an issue with that. They're still trying to figure out the zone stuff that they like to do now, because that was not Nick Saban. He did not play zone. He was not going to do that shit. Oh, are we now? I can use it. It's crazy though that you would see the way that things are going with that. I don't know that means that they're dead meat or anything like that. But I do think that you got to figure out a way to stop running quarterbacks, because most of this SEC, as Jeff Shear said a second ago, has quarterback that has some mobility to them. And if you know that that's what it's going to do, if you know that is how you beat these guys, everybody's going to run the ball on them now. So I think that's what they tried to do. Castellanos, that's all he can really do. I don't know that I think a whole lot more of Florida State than I did yesterday. But I do think more, but I don't know how much more. It is what it is,
And Clemson has turned the ball over on downs.
Ball game.
The killer gets it done.
I mean,
I mean, it was not great football. I mean, it was typical first game kind of stuff, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I have no idea what LSU will be when they show up in Norman in November. I have no idea what OU will be. So that's worrying about LSU was like, yeah, whatever. We got 3 months of the season before that becomes relevant. So, but yeah, there was some weird games. I mean, in general, to quote my brother, who lives in Chicago, the Big Ten is a steaming pile of fat crap, other than Ohio State and Penn State and maybe Oregon. I mean, he's like Ohio State has 2 football games from now. That's it. They got a 2-game season. I mean, Northwestern got trashed by Tulane with the BYU quarterback who I think showed up pregame to get his playbook. I mean, Wisconsin looked bad. I mean, everybody in the Big Ten has looked like crap, other than Ohio State so far. And I guess Penn State actually threw the ball to a wide receiver or 2 the other night. Penn State wide receiver actually caught a touchdown pass. So I guess that validates my faith in them to be in the top 4 in the playoff. But I mean, it's going to be a strange. It's already been strange. We haven't even had Notre Dame, Miami yet. It's going to be a strange season.
Yeah, I mean, and hell, UTSA versus Texas A&M.
They were hanging around for an awful long time.
Running back at 177 yards for crying out loud.
Yeah, dude.
And everyone's saying
UTSA hung around for an awful long time, bro.
And then K-State did pull it out against North Dakota.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's goofy. It's going to be a goofy season. The Big 12 looks like it's going to be an utter, train wreck of.
Dude, yeah. I mean, K-State won at the bell, at the gun right here. 38-35. They won at the gun. I mean.
At home.
Yeah. I mean,
so it's
wrong. North Dakota State is who they
North
play.
Dakota State, yeah. So
they're legit. They're legit.
Yeah. But
here's what I've been saying this about. I've been saying this about that damn Ireland game is a hangover waiting to happen for both of those teams that play in it.
You need a bye week. You need a bye week the next week.
They definitely need a bye week the next week, but they're not giving them one. And then the other thing is that I think even then, I mean, Coach will tell you he went when Notre Dame went over there. He was like, shit, I didn't feel right for all year myself. And he didn't do nothing but drink Guinness. You know what I mean? It's like, but these guys, it doesn't seem like they ever really get their feet underneath them. I think it's bad. I would really be pissed if OU agreed to go over there.
Oh, we'd have to get it'd have to be a mass. There's not enough money for us to do that. So, but I mean, that's my feeling basically right now is that it's going to be we're looking at a weird season where I think us trying to predict the top 12 playoff teams preseason was folly, and predicting them again, giving us everybody's doing it, but giving us a fresh start again at the end of September, I think is probably the way we'll have to do it, because it's a mess. I mean, I don't know. The SEC, everyone's predicting, Bama to be in the playoffs, and that team today is not going to make it through that schedule. They're just not. I mean, they're going to rack up at least, Jordan. They're going to play Georgia in 3 weeks, and Georgia in Athens. Tennessee, looks improved. I'm not saying improved, but they look pretty good today. I mean, certainly better than Bama did. And is Russell even a fit for what DeBoer wants to do? I don't know that he is, but he obviously recruited him, so he must be. But it was messy. It's gonna be a mess. So we'll see what OU is going to be. OU Michigan's a star game for next week. We'll obviously do our preview episode on Thursday. But I don't know, K. Chris and Jason. I think it's going to be a roller coaster. There's so many big time matchups in September, and everybody looks pretty discombobulated due to transfers in, transfers out. If you didn't bring in a big transfer class, you're relying on a lot of young players, and there's a lot of quarterbacks that just don't seem ready for prime time. I mean, that's one thing you could say. Mateer was
tonight.
Yeah, well, Muss, we know Muss.
Yeah, but he didn't have any bad turnovers, which is what he did a lot last year. 28 to 38. That was a big win. It was a big win for him.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing I'll end on is it didn't look too bright for Mateer tonight. Mateer looked like, I got this. I know what I'm doing. And you can't say that about a bunch of other quarterbacks out there today.
And I think that may be one of the biggest edges that we have outside of the defense is that, hey, as long as our guys are catching the ball, as long as the O-line can protect, and as long as we can possibly get a good run game, a solid run game, I think that's what Sooner fans are really yearning for right now. It's just a complimentary run game. As long as we can have those different things, I give us the edge there in any quarterback battle, no matter who we're facing. I think that we potentially have the best quarterback on the field every game this year. We just have to give him
right now, other than Nuss,
and
maybe if Austin Simmons continues to improve, that could be a matchup too. We'll see. I mean, I think a lot of that is they're just in the same scheme.
I like Austin Simmons. I just think it's going to take some time with him too.
Yeah, but I'll see. But I think you're right, Chris. Other than the Nussmeier matchup at the end of the year, we have a QB advantage. Unlike last year, where we basically had a QB disadvantage for most of the year.
Yeah. I Senator A said Mateer's a difference maker. I really believe he is. I think that he's going to and again, I think some of the things that you saw tonight were very basic. And I again, there were times where the offensive line really looked pretty damn good. And there were times where you were just like, okay, are we still having some of the same issues? But again, we got to see this team at full health, which you are going to see this team at full health. This is not a thing of us coming here and saying, hey, Nick Anderson and the rest of the crew are going to be back. We're going to have Andrell Anthony back by next week. No, this is not us just being super optimistic. This is real. Like, these guys will be back. So when you have the Dolby coming in and out for a Kendall Daniels, when you're able to match those two up and be able to go out there and be so versatile with different things, whenever you're able to see, is Fasusi the answer? Is Derek Sanders the answer? What's going to happen? Can we get more consistency along the offensive line? I think you'll be fine. I mean, if we're being real, you probably tonight you were probably playing some of your third string guys like the Blake and No kid. I'm saying his name totally wrong. Backlinko from Stanford, probably still a year away from really seeing the field and seeing significant time. So you're playing guys like that. And so again, it's not necessarily that he's bad. It's just the fact of, let's see this team at full strength with their starters. I think that things will be a little bit different. And also, let's see Ott in the game opposed to
somebody asked in there, somebody had a question in there about Ott being a discipline problem. Is that are we hearing that?
I haven't heard that yet.
I haven't heard that.
Biggest thing that I want to know, biggest question that I have about anything that happened today or tonight is simply this: where the hell is Bevo's bodyguard? I just have to know.
Yeah,
where is Bevo? Where is Bevo's bodyguard? Somebody in the chat find him right now.
I'm blocking so he'll show up somewhere.
I need Bevo's bodyguard to come to the front now. Stand up, please. Man. So looking forward to next week. Next week is going to be a huge game, a huge test for the Sooners. Got to get this one. This is a very, very pivotal game for this program going forward, just to make sure that everybody knows we are to be reckoned with. I think you're going to see some really good things. Michigan looked good tonight, but there were times when they did not look really good. You can move the ball on this Michigan defense. They want to run, but they also want to pass as well. He will take his shots, but they want to dink and dive down the field per usual. So you just have to act accordingly. You have to be there. Guys, be honest with you, I thought we saw a lot more of Owen Heineke than I thought we would. I think you were saving guys as well. I think one of the best plays of the game was when who was that? Was that was Kobe? Kobe came down the lane and he knocked the hell out of that blocker. And we put pressure on Rittenhouse. I said, oh yeah, okay. So yeah. No, I mean, I just thought that it wasn't the cleanest game, but it was a clean game. It was clean enough. But next week's slate of games are going to be really good. Before we play, O State goes up there to Oregon. I mean, look, all of
good game.
I'll just say all of our ops.
I've never seen a duck beat the shit out of a cowboy before.
That's there. Yeah.
Oh man.
But fellas, we've been on here for about
SC win?
Okay. Yeah. You said USC?
Missouri State. Yay.
Oh, they were down 3-0 to start that game, and then they blew the hell out of them. Don't worry about that. Lincoln was gonna let that happen. What I was gonna say, is Florida State ranked next week?
Yes.
No doubt.
Here's a question for you. Does Texas fall out of the top 10?
No.
They lost by 7 on the road. Apparently, that's not the. I mean, look, we just heard about what they're doing with the strength of schedule stuff. It's not going to kill them that much, supposedly. But it's not going to be the playoff committee that's ranking them either. So they could. It wouldn't surprise me, but I don't think that they probably will.
I don't think
they're a top 10 team by any stretch, but that doesn't. But we didn't think they were coming in either, and they were number 1. So, whatever.
I don't think that you penalize Texas or Clemson for those losses tonight.
Clemson might get penalized for losing at home in the opener, especially to a team that's lost 5 straight openers.
I can see that a little bit.
It's another hot pick to win the Natty, by the way.
That's week 1 stuff, right? That Switzer used to say, "You're never as bad or as good as you look in week 1."
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Did Oregon play today?
They did. They blew out Montana State.
Oh, okay.
You either had like a top 10 matchup or you played no one. There was nothing really in between this week.
UCLA is getting beat by Utah right now.
What's the score to that? Is 6-0 still?
6-0. Yeah.
It's about to be 14-0.
Yeah.
So that's a late night watch. So
yeah, this Big 12 and Pac-12 after dark is insane. All right.
It's Big 10 after dark. But you're right.
The Big 10 after dark.
That sounds very creepy.
It does.
It's weird, dude. It's so weird.
Like some sort of like corn fetish stuff.
All right. Well, hey, we've been over here on here for about an hour or so. Maybe we'll be back tomorrow. Maybe we'll be back. We'll definitely be back Monday with some recruiting, different things like that. So we'll talk about that. We're doing a recruiting only show. May talk a little bit about the games and aftermath or whatever, but definitely going to do a recruiting only. Just about who all is going to be here this weekend, who was here this past weekend. Different reports like that with Mr. Students 360 himself, Chris Mason. Guys, any final things to say? Any parting shots?
Putting out an APB for Bevo's bodyguard right here. Putting out an APB for Bevo's bodyguard.
And on our recruiting show, we get to talk about Cooper Hackett verbaling to Texas Tech 20 minutes ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
The oil money, the blood money. Lubbock is the new Dallas, if you know.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, they're still not going to do shit.
All right, fellas. Well, hey, with that being said, Sooners 360, Hall of Fame College Football Podcast with Jason the Coach, Horns Down Podcast. Definitely like, subscribe, do all those different things on each channel. Follow us on Twitter, everything as you already know. Look in the bio, you'll find all of us. Hit us up. Let's go. We'll see you guys here in a little while.